All right, as promised, we're going to get the timer working here. And so we're going to get this going by working in blocks. We want to get to the button start and button stop. Okay, that's the key, because that's starting and stopping the timer. And we already remember we have this clock element. So what we're going to do is when we click the button start, we're going to take the clock enabled and make it true. So let's get this here. Oops. Clock enabled. And we're going to go, the true and false are in logic. So we're going to take this and put it there. All right, so when we click the button start, this means that the clock timer is enabled. And the clock timer actually just, if you look over here, what it does is this means this is not important to us right now. That means it's broken into 1/1000th of a second. Actually, let's do this. I forgot that too. The timer enabled should not be clicked when we start. All right, let's make sure that's unchecked. And now we go back to the blocks. We did this for button start. I want you to do the same thing for button stop, but make this a false. Okay, so you can figure out how to get that one going. And then what we want to do is let's go to the clock, and we're going to say when the clock timer, which actually means when the timer starts. So when it's true, when it's on. What we want to do is set the text in the label. Actually, let me start grabbing the wrong one just so you can remember that you don't have to look for the one that says text. And we're going to set the label to the variable, whatever the variable timer happens to be at that moment. And then we're going to do this again, this part up here, this -1. We're going to change the global time. We're going to set the text to the global time, and then we're going to change the global time. This is when clock timer. That means every second. And let me just copy this here, because this is what we're going to do. We're going to change the global time to the old time -1. So if it started out at 30, when this starts, we put a 30 in there. We change that to a we change that to a 30 minus 1, which is 29. And then, of course, we're going to have to put that number into the label, but I want to do it in this way. Okay, let's get rid of that. This will end up in here, but I like to work on them outside of the thing. It just seems to give me a little more freedom. So we're going to say if the variable is equal to 0, so let's get the equal to. If the timer is ever equal to 0, then I want to change the timer enabled from true to false. So let me get over here to timer enabled. Let's take this one. Actually, I don't need the else in there. I don't need that. So let me get rid of the else. And I also want to play the alarm. So here's how the clock timer works. We set the label to the time that we've entered. we start counting it down. Okay, every time it clicks, we set it down. We count it down. And then we're going to put an if then. So before we come back and do anything, the second, before we reduce the number again, we check to see if the number is 0 now. If it is, then we stop the clock and we play the alarm. Okay, so that'll get our clock rolling there, and it'll bring our alarm into play. So I think you have enough to get you going for a few minutes. Let's put all this together and then test it out. And let's see if maybe I hid a little Easter egg in there for you.